Welcome to the Illinois PTA video series PTA Essentials, a series of brief videos that cover the basics of running a PTA unit. This PTA Essentials video covers your PTA audit. We will begin with when to perform an audit. Your PTA should do an audit at the end of your PTA's fiscal year. For many PTAs, this will be June 30th, but check your bylaws for what your fiscal year is. You also perform an audit when there is a change in signatories on your PTA's checking account at a time other than the end of the fiscal year, or whenever you suspect there might be a problem with the PTA accounts. So how do you do an audit? The makeup of your audit committee is specified in your PTA's bylaws. The bylaws will also specify who elects or selects the audit committee members. You want at least 3 people on your audit committee. Members of the audit committee cannot be signatories to the PTA checking account. This means that the treasurer likely cannot be a member of the audit committee, but they should plan to attend the audit anyway to answer any questions the committee has. Your PTA may use an outside auditor if your bylaws specify that that is a possibility. Your PTA may have a member who is an accountant or other financial professional who volunteers their services for the PTA audit. However, you need to be sure that your auditor is familiar with nonprofit requirements. PTAs have run into trouble in the past when a helpful auditor files additional forms that larger nonprofits must file, but that PTAs generally do not need to. When this happens, PTAs are often locked into filing those additional forms annually thereafter, with penalties when they fail to do so. If a PTA has a gross income, which is the total amount of money coming into their PTA for the fiscal year, that is greater than $300,000, Illinois law requires that an outside auditor be used. Here is a sample report form. You can find this on the Illinois PTA website at illinoispta.org among the Treasurer materials under the Leadership Resources menu item. You can also find a copy in the local unit packet sent to your PTA president at the beginning of the school year. Here is the top of the audit report form. It contains the entry that the audit committee will fill out as they perform the audit. Let's step through them. At the top, you need to specify the dates that the audit covers. In most cases, these would be the date of the most recent audit and the date that this audit is being performed. The dates could also be the starting and ending date of your PTA's fiscal year if you are doing an annual audit. The audit committee fills in the balance on hand from the most recent audit. Assuming you are using this report form, this value would be taken from line 4 from the most recent audit report. Line 1 is where the audit committee records all of the income to the PTA since the most recent audit. This includes all fundraisers, donations, and PTA dues, including Illinois PTA and National PTA dues. If the audit is for an entire fiscal year, this value is the PTA's gross receipts, a figure you will need to determine which IRS Form 990 your PTA will need to file for this fiscal year. Add the value from line 1 to the value above to get the total cash that the PTA had to work with during the audit period, and record this value on line 2. Line 3 is where the audit committee will record the PTA's total disbursements since the most recent audit. These are all the expenses that the PTA had during this period. The audit committee then subtracts the value in line 3 from the total cash value in line 2 to calculate the current balance on hand, and records it in line 4. Line 5 is the balance of the PTA's account at the end of its last bank statement prior to the audit date. In this area, the audit committee will record any checks that have been written but have not cleared the PTA account as of the last bank statement. The total value of these outstanding checks is then recorded in line 6. On line 7, the audit committee records the total of any deposits that have been made that have not been credited to the PTA account as of the last bank statement. Once these 3 lines have been filled out, the audit committee subtracts the total outstanding checks in line 6 from the last bank statement balance in line 5 and adds the uncredited deposits in line 7. This total is the balance in the checking account and is recorded on line 8. The value in line 8 should be equal to the value above in line 4, the balance on hand. If these two values are equal, the audit committee is essentially done and just needs to complete the bottom half of the audit report, which we will cover in just a minute. If the two values are not equal, the audit committee needs to determine what the discrepancy is and how it came about. The difference between lines 4 and 8 can provide the audit committee with some clues, as it may be as simple as a check or bank fee that wasn't recorded. The audit committee needs to continue to work on explaining the discrepancy until lines 4 and 8 are equal. Once the audit committee has completed their work, they need to fill out the bottom part of the audit report form. The audit committee reports that the audit found that the PTA's books to be correct, meaning that lines 4 and 8 were equal, substantially correct with the following adjustments. This option is used when two numbers weren't added or subtracted correctly, or a pair of digits were switched when recording a deposit or check. The committee should note what these corrections are. For example, check number 421 was recorded as $128.56 instead of $128.65. The audit committee may report that the audit is incomplete. The committee uses this option when they do not have sufficient information to determine if all of the deposits and expenses were recorded correctly or not. Very often, incomplete audits happen when a PTA is not using deposit and expense vouchers, not recording income and expenses against budget lines in a ledger or spreadsheet, or perhaps only keeping track of things by writing notes on receipts and in check memo lines regarding what they are for. If your PTA has an incomplete audit, your executive committee should have a plan ready to present to your membership when they vote on the audit report on how this situation will not happen again. Finally, the audit committee may report that the books are incorrect. This means that there is money missing from the account that cannot be accounted for. If you suspect money has been stolen from your PTA account, do not make any accusations or promise not to go to the police if the money is paid back. Those activities can open your PTA to libel and extortion charges. Take the audit report, a copy of your bank statements, and an estimate of the amount of money stolen, and file a police report. Contact your Illinois PTA district or region director. They can help you through this process. If your PTA has bonding insurance, contact your insurance provider as well. The audit committee then signs off on the report and records the date that the audit was completed. The audit report is approved at your first general membership meeting of the fiscal year. It is approved prior to adopting your PTA's budget for the coming year. Basically, you are closing the books from the previous year before laying out your plan for the coming year. You should send a copy of your completed and approved audit to the Illinois PTA State Office, as well as a copy of your IRS Form 990 filing before the end of the calendar year. The address is Illinois PTA, P.O. Box 907, Springfield, Illinois, 62705-0907. Sending these documents to the Illinois PTA is part of your PTA remaining in good standing and is part of the Illinois PTA's requirement to provide oversight of its member units to protect our nonprofit status. Now let's review the material we have covered. An audit must be done at least annually after the close of the fiscal year. You may also need to do an audit if the signatories on your PTA account change or if you suspect there is money missing from the account. How your PTA creates an audit committee is specified in your bylaws. If your PTA's gross income is greater than $300,000, Illinois law requires your PTA to use an outside auditor. The audit is approved at your first general membership meeting of the fiscal year, prior to adopting your budget. Finally, send a copy of your approved audit, along with a copy of your IRS Form 990 filing, to the Illinois PTA office by December 31st. Thank you for watching this Illinois PTA video. You can find additional information on the Illinois PTA website at illinoispta.org and on our blog, One Voice, Illinois.